everyone, I'm Drew Goldfarb, and welcome to this edition of Betting for the Cycle, where we're giving you 4 picks for upcoming baseball games, matchups, or prop bets, and we're going to try to go 4 for 4 just to bet for the cycle. Here's how this works. I'm going to pose 4 potential wagers or daily fantasy comparisons. Our experts and I will each give you our picks and rank them based on how confident we are in the outcome. Least confident pick will be our single. Most confident pick will, of course, be the home run. We'll each have a pick that we consider to be a home run, a triple, a double, and a single each and every week, giving us a chance at betting for the cycle. Our individual stats are being tracked all season long. You're going to see those pop up on the screen as well. This week, as every week, I'm joined by Taylor Smith and Jim Baviglia. Guys, let's start with daily fantasy. Last week, we matched up Tampa Bay's Charlie Morton against Minnesota's Jake Odorizzi. Odorizzi fell to Kansas City, while Morton beat Oakland to earn the matchup win. This week, they're going head-to-head on Wednesday at Target Field. Jim and I went with Odorizzi last week, while Taylor made the correct pick and played Morton. Taylor, who are you taking this time around?
So the game being in Minnesota is more complicating, obviously, but I'm still going to go with Morton. I picked him last time just because I think he's a way better pitcher. I think Odorizzi's been pitching over his head this season. Strikeouts are the main thing when it comes to DFS, and Morton has a K rate over 30% on the season. Odorizzi's around 27, but his career rate's around 22, so I think that's going to keep coming down. The matchup's tough for both. Tampa Bay and Minnesota both have tons of power in the offense, so it's not a great spot for either of them. But I think Odorizzi is still on track for more regression. His xFIP is about 2 full runs higher than his ERA. And I think we saw last week that some of that regression might already be here. So I'm not super confident because it's a road game against a team like the Twins, but I'm taking Morton as my single.
Jim, how do you see it this week?
Yeah, it was funny. Last week I said that I thought that Morton was the better pitcher, but I went with Odorizzi. I'm not going to make that mistake again this week. I'm going to go with Morton. Taylor mentioned about the xFIP, and I think, like we said, Odorizzi got roughed up last time. Maybe the league starts to catch up to him a little bit. So I'm going to go with Morton. Again, I'm not crazy about the fact that it is in Minnesota, both tough pitching matchups, a lot of the things that Taylor said. But I just think that Morton is the better pitcher, and I'm going to make it my double pick.
Well, if you look at the numbers, Morton beats Odorizzi almost across the board. Better ERA, better win-loss, better WAR, better WHIP. Morton is even a better road pitcher than a home pitcher, though Odorizzi's numbers at Target Field much better than if he's away from it. That last part is what has me here. I know that last week I picked him, and it ended up costing me a cycle to go with him in his matchup. But at home in 2019, Odorizzi's ERA is nearly a run and a half better than on the road. His K per 9, a full strikeout better, and opposing batters have an average of 45 points lower overall and 85 points lower on balls in play. While Tampa's 25-15 mark on the road is strong, can't pick against the Twins at home, where they're 24-13 this year. I'm assuming this is either going to be a Twins win that counts for Odorizzi or a Twins win that goes to the bullpen. So I'm going to go back to Odorizzi, not learning my lesson on it, sticking with him. But this time around, I'm going to make it my single lower confidence pick in this one because this is a matchup of 2 very good teams. For question 2, let's look ahead to a weekend series, but stick with Tampa Bay. The Rays and Texas Rangers will begin a 3-game series on Friday. It's at Tropicana Field in Tampa. It's not in Montreal, not yet. No split home games yet for the Rays, if that ends up being a thing. Each of these teams sits in second place in their division as we're recording this, with Tampa holding on to the top wildcard spot at the moment. So, Jim, who wins the series?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because I don't think people realize how Texas is, their record is very comparable to Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay gets a lot of publicity being in the AL East, but the Rangers record-wise right there with them. The one thing that concerns me in terms of the Rangers in this series is they are a much better team at home than they are on the road, and I think it might be as simple as that. Pitching matchups, the Rays don't have to face Mike Minor, who has been the Rangers' best pitcher so far. The Rays have Blake Snell going on Sunday. I think he has a bounce back. He had a rough outing his last time out. I think he's probably going to be fired up for a bounce back in that one. So overall, I think this one is really pointing towards the Rays, and this is actually going to be my home run pick.
That's a good call, I think, because I'm agreeing with you. I'm taking the Rays here, and it's also going to be my home run. Tampa just 20-18 at home, which is not very good. The Rangers, though, 14-21 on the road, as Jim was alluding to, which is much worse. The big thing for me here, though, is the Pythagorean expectation for these teams. Their true win-loss records are similar. Rays have the 6th best win percentage in the majors. Rangers close behind at 9th. But the expected win-loss records, based on the runs scored and allowed by the teams, place the Rays in 4th and the Rangers way down in 12th. The Rangers basically an average team when you look at it that way. Tampa, the better team statistically. I'm not going to let the first two pitching matchups scare me away from picking them. The Rays will win this series, and I'm making it my home run because you know what? Something this week had to be a home run pick, so why not this one? Taylor, what's your pick here?
To make it 3 for 3, we're all betting our home run on Tampa Bay. The Rangers, I think they benefited a bit from a pretty soft schedule. They've played the Astros, but the last time they saw them, they got swept in 4 games. They played the Red Sox. They split 4 at Fenway. But Texas hasn't played Tampa. They haven't played the Twins, and they haven't played the Yankees yet. Really, Tampa Bay just has to get one of the first 2 here with Snell looming on Sunday. Lynn against Chirinos, that's a tough matchup on Friday. But I still think, just having Snell in that one game, not that it's an automatic win, but it's shaping up to be a bullpen game for the Rangers. They don't have a very good bullpen. I just think Tampa Bay is the safer pick. This is probably going to blow up in all our faces, but at least if it does, then we're all in the same boat. So I'm taking the home run here again with Tampa Bay.
We either all get our home runs this week or nobody gets a home run this week. That is team effort, and I like it. Speaking of teams that play north of the border, or a team that currently plays north of the border anyway, pick number 3, Toronto Blue Jays, amongst the worst teams in Major League Baseball this year, as are the Kansas City Royals. Those 2 teams will meet this weekend for a 4-game series at the Rogers Center, formerly Sky Dome in Toronto. Since we can't do a series pick for a 4-game set, we're going to go to pick which team wins Friday's series opener. It's a Friday to Monday series. It's currently scheduled to feature Danny Duffy and Marcus Stroman on the mound. I get to go first. I'm taking Toronto as my double for this pick. Despite a 5-9 record, Stroman has a WAR rating of 2.6, vastly superior to Duffy's. Neither pitcher has a great K per 9. I think Stroman is more likely to pitch deeper into the game and more likely to earn a win if either starter even gets one in this contest. Even though we're picking a team to win, this all matters. The Royals have lost in 4 of Duffy's last 5 starts. The Jays have won 2 of Stroman's last 3 and 4 of his last 7. 4 out of 7 doesn't sound great, but when you're looking at the overall record of the teams, that might as well be 6 of 7. So again, Blue Jays my pick to win this game, making it my double. Taylor, we're going to you. Which direction are you going?
I'm taking Toronto at home too. Duffy is a lefty with a wide platoon split. The Blue Jays lineup has pretty good right-handed power. Guys like Randall Grichuk, Vlad Jr., etc. Stroman, I think, is just a better pitcher, good ground ball rate. That should serve him well against a generally weak Kansas City lineup. I assume Adalberto Mondesi is still out for them. So there's really not a lot to fear there in the Royals lineup. I have a hard time putting so much weight on a single game result, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it my triple.
Ooh, triple pick for the Blue Jays, but 2 for 2 for Toronto. So Jim, you going to make it 3 for 3, or are you taking the other side and going KC?
Yeah, I'm going to make it 3 for 3, only I'm not as confident. I'm only going to make it my single. A lot of the same reasons that you guys mentioned. This is a very right-handed heavy lineup for Toronto. Duffy's going to have a hard time navigating that. They also have Yuli Gurriel in there, Lourdes Gurriel in there, who's been killing the ball for Toronto lately, hitting in the middle of the lineup. So I think Duffy has a hard time with that. The one thing that actually concerned me, and it's completely away from the stats and everything, but Marcus Stroman kind of very vocal about the fact that he wouldn't mind playing in New York. So I don't know how motivated Toronto is going to be behind him come Friday, but I still think everything else kind of overwhelms that, and I'm going to go with Toronto as my single.
Last one to complete the cycle. This is going to be a bit of a longer-term pick. The All-Star break right around the corner. The NL Central proving to be quite the battle. As we're recording, the Chicago Cubs and Milwaukee Brewers are separated by just 1 game, while the St. Louis Cardinals are just a game and a half back of that. And both Cincinnati and Pittsburgh are basically as close to first place in the Central as the second place Philadelphia Phillies are to the Atlanta Braves in the NL East. Taylor, which team will be in first place in the NL Central when the All-Star break hits? And because these teams are so close, you have your choice of all 5 that play.
Yeah, it's really interesting because the top 3 teams, the Cubs, Brewers, and Cardinals, all have a huge road trip coming up right heading into the All-Star break. The Brewers have a 7-game trip. The Cubs and Cardinals each have 9-game road trips heading into the All-Star break. So it's not easy for any of them. I think the Cubs, they're playing the Braves as we speak at home at Wrigley. That's a tough 4-game series. They got the first game, but Atlanta's red hot right now. I don't really feel super confident in the Cubs there. I think the Brewers have the easiest road. They get the Mariners. They have 2 series with Pittsburgh and then another against Cincinnati. A lot of these teams share opponents over the course of the next couple of weeks, but Milwaukee's only 1 game back. I think they have the easiest schedule of those teams coming up, so I'll take the Brewers as my double.
Jim, who are you picking to lead the Central into the All-Star break?
So I'm going to go with the Cubs as my NL Central pick. This was a tough one because I agree with you guys that the schedule certainly favors Milwaukee. I'm not crazy about Milwaukee starting pitching right now. Seems like other than Brandon Woodruff, it's really a toss-up for who they throw out there every night. Whereas the Cubs have solidified it. They lost Kyle Hendricks, but they picked up Adzalai, who is one of their most promising young pitchers in a long, long time. And so it's very tight there. I'm a Reds fan. I'd love to be able to say Cincinnati comes back and gets the job done. And I do agree that the Brewers have a little bit better schedule, but I just think the Cubs right now are on better footing. So I'm going to go with the Cubs, and I'm going to have them leading at the All-Star break, and I'm going to make that my triple pick.
I'm going to go with the Brewers, and I'm making this pick my triple for the week. For me, this all comes down to the opponents. Milwaukee plays 6 games against the Pirates, 4 against the Reds, 3 against the Mariners from today until the All-Star break. Seattle is a dozen games below 500. Reds and Pirates each 4 games below 500 as of right now. And aside from a pair of games against Oakland, St. Louis also has a pretty easy road from now to the break, but they're starting 2 games back of first. Cubs, meanwhile, have to play Atlanta 3 more times this week, so that leaves me with the Brewers as my triple pick. Kind of by default, they're very close to the Cubs in the standings. And I think, as Taylor had said, they've got the easier road to having a better record in the next week and a half. So I'm taking Milwaukee to head into the All-Star break, leading the division. We're all putting a little bit of confidence in that. Taylor, the double, Jim and I each going with our triple pick. So we will see how that all plays out. Now, before we wrap up, we're checking back in on our World Series picks. I've been sticking with a matchup of the Philadelphia Phillies at plus 420 to win the NL, Boston Red Sox at plus 550 to win the AL. The Phillies are now plus 600, Boston plus 700. So I could decide to basically just take the newer odds, but I'm going to take this opportunity to change both selections. While I still think there's some value to be had in taking those new odds for both teams, I found what I consider to be good value for 2 teams that are playing better right now and are at least equally likely to those 2 teams to be contending for a pennant come October and September. In the NL, I'm going to scoop up the Atlanta Braves at plus 300. I had mentioned considering them a week ago when they were plus 350. I'm finally going to make that change. In the AL, the Minnesota Twins have the best win percentage in the American League and are listing at plus 320 to win the pennant. Their starting pitching a bit of a concern for me, even though their numbers are actually pretty strong across the board. That said, 15-8 record against the AL East, 14-6 record against the AL West. They've been great in their own division, and those out-of-division records are way better than the marks posted by the Yankees and the Astros. New York just 12-11 against the AL Central, 9-6 against the West. Houston, 13-10 against the East, 12-9 against the AL Central. The Twins have value where the Yankees and Astros currently don't, if you didn't jump in when these two suggested them. And they're currently the best team in the American League record-wise to boot. So for me, who's looking for a little bit of a value play, they're the ones I'm going with in the American League. And I didn't mean to call out your guys' picks to win the American League specifically. They just happen to be the division leaders. Taylor, you've got the Astros locked in at plus 140, the Dodgers at plus 170, Houston sits at plus 130, LA at plus 100, even money there. Any changes you'd like to make, or are you going to continue to just enjoy the better odds that you've locked in?
Yeah, I think I got it at a pretty good time just because, right now I still can't see a way around the Dodgers. The Dodgers and Astros actually have the 2 best records in the league against teams over 500. LA is 26-14, Houston's 30-21, the 2 best marks in the league. So Houston's getting healthy. George Springer comes back on Tuesday night. Colin McHugh's also back. Correa, Aledmus Diaz right around the corner. So I like where they are right now. Houston had a recent skid, but I'm not too worried about it. The Dodgers just keep doing their thing. 3 walk-off home runs in a row by rookies over the weekend. So I like your Atlanta pick. I think there's good value there. They're in a good way right now, but I'm going to stick with it. I can't abandon ship now. So rolling with it.
All right. Well, Jim, you locked in the Yankees and the Dodgers. Already went over LA's movement. The Yankees were plus 230 when you locked them in. They're now betting at plus 170. Big shift there. So you've got a really good advantage with that plus 230. Any changes you'd like to make even with those shifts?
Yeah, no, I still feel comfortable with both of them. You know, the Yankees are so deep right now. It's almost like the NBA where there's load management. I mean, they give Judge off a night here. They give 20 options in their lineup. It's ridiculous. And then speaking of depth, you look at the Dodgers, they lose Rich Hill and they put Ross Stripling in, and they have Julio Urias like waiting, you know, in case somebody else goes down. I mean, there's just so many resources for these two teams. And I think, you know, the Yankees obviously have the tougher road with Houston standing there. I would feel better about Houston if they had one more starting pitch, change things around. But for right now, I'm going to stick with what I have.
That'll do it for this week's edition of Betting for the Cycle. Be sure to check back next week where we'll show you the stats of how we did and give you our latest picks. For Jim Bavili and Taylor Smith, I'm Drew Goldfarb. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.